Are you ready to change your money flow? Would you like to get beyond the six figures that you keep bumping up against? Well, let me tell you, my book, Magical Money Manifestations, is going to help you create money manifestations on autopilot so that you will have more money, more freedom, and more joy in your life. Go to magicalmoneymanifestations.com to find out more information. If this is the first time you're listening to the Wealthy Wednesday show, please remember to subscribe and click on the like button. This is Lucy McMonagle. I am the Mystic Wealth Creator and I mentor mystic entrepreneurs to create more freedom in their business through conscious wealth creation so that they can make a big impact in the world and leave a legacy. I truly believe that when we accept our mystic powers and use them as entrepreneurs, that we will accelerate the transformation of this world so that we can bring about more peace and harmony, free from hunger and free from war. So today we have a very special edition of the Wealthy Wednesday show, and I'd like to invite you to click on the subscribe button and click on the like button. So please make sure you share this Wealthy Wednesday show with any of your friends, post it on your social media, and be able to put the comments below so I can provide you with exactly what you're looking for and what you want to get out of this show. So now let's get started. Hey, 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 welcome to another week of the Wealthy Wednesday show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle, and today I am so incredibly excited. We have Chris Cooley, who for over 10 years has been the top voice and leader in the global co-working industry. He has traveled the world and gained firsthand knowledge of many co-working models, all of which have resulted in the creation of multiple successful, sustainable co-working collaborative spaces. And he has a knack for innovation with a unique collaborative approach. Chris, I am so excited that you are on the Wealthy Wednesday show. And as an entrepreneur who absolutely loves traveling and being able to understand how I can get outside of my four walls, I'm so excited you're here. Welcome to the show. And
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here too. Anything worth talking about is definitely here right on this show. So co-working is certainly a hot topic, and I'm ready to dive in whenever you are.
absolutely. You combined your creative mindset skills with the ability to empower others to generate progressive companies.
Mm-hmm.
And you also use your skill set to turn concepts into reality with more ease and with more space. Now, you also focus really highly on co-working spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And that concept, a lot of people might understand it, but you actually take it to a new level. Can you explain on how you utilize co-working spaces to grow your business and how other entrepreneurs who are looking to really meet with other conscious entrepreneurs, how can they grow their business through co-working spaces?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's co-working became this part of me, right? And so I actually started about 15 years ago a branding and design company. And the reason that I got into co-working is because I realized very quickly that I wanted to be around other like-minded people because I was working from home, right? Like a lot of your listeners, it was kind of a freelance gig and it evolved into a company, but I knew to be really professional, high level, be interactive and innovative in my own creative light was to be around other people and to thrive off of that, right? And to interact and collaborate. And so I actually started to kind of create co-working spaces before it was really even called co-working. In fact, I didn't even hear about co-working until about 2014. And I had already created these spaces where I was with a bunch of other like-minded people, and we were sharing amenities and renting out a space and splitting up the rent, right? Which is the essence of the real estate portion of co-working, right? But yeah, I mean, my business grew as I developed some of these concepts, and one thing led to another. I actually went through a coaching program, a personal growth program, and I realized that the branding and design and the creative work I was doing was great and fun. There was a layer of me that wasn't being fulfilled, and it was right in front of me the whole time. It was me facilitating and growing these co-working spaces that I was at, right? So I helped officially launch a co-working space, still around, still successful, still booked to capacity. And people started calling me saying, hey, can you help us create ours, our community, our co-working space. And that's how the consulting layer of what I do was born. And really I made a transition out of the branding company. I haven't done a branding project in a very long time, which is kind of a scary thing when that's your bread and butter for a long time. But my calling was in building these communities and working and collaborating with people to do that and see their movement and their mission come to fruition through the skills and expertise and guidance that I can provide, right? So yeah, I mean, we talk about co-working spaces a lot.
Correct.
You and I were talking a little bit before this, that really what we teach is the philosophy of co-working, right? So it's two pieces. It's, yes, there's this physical space, then that designing that space can be done virtually. It can be done in a building, in a leased loft, but what it really comes down to is designing a space that's collaborative. The other side of what we do is the cultural part of that. So it's physical and cultural, right? This becomes the philosophy of co-working, because if you're not building an an engaged culture, right, of people, then how can they be empowered, right? It's how it feels, right, to be involved in something and be asked to be involved in something. Mm-hmm. Well, that coupled with the physical space is really what we teach and implement for people. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Oh, that's fabulous. And yeah. Chris, can you tell us, a lot of the entrepreneurs are throughout the world here who listen to this, and you help them set up a co-working space. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, mm-hmm. so that they know how they can get involved and what it would take? And then you also were talking to me earlier about online co-working spaces. We'll start with the first one, which is physically, how can the entrepreneurs who are listening to this get involved or become a part of the community of collaboration with like-minded people through co-working?
Yeah. So if somebody's interested in creating their own co-working space, right, there are multiple levels of logistics that you'll need to go through. And one is understanding real estate a little bit, right? And so then there's also other pieces to this, which we help guide people through. So marketing, sales, training of community managers, implementing culture, all these parts are, the business acumen, the business side of things is really what people come to us for if they're looking to launch a physical space, right? Okay. It's like, look, you guys have done this, you've been around it. We don't know the first place to start. I'll give you a great example. We worked with a company out in Milwaukee, right? And we walked around their space and they said, well, here's where we're going to put the teleconferencing system in, and it's going to cost $10,000. And we said, why do you need a teleconferencing system? And they said, well, we never thought of that. We thought we just needed it, right? And we said, no, you just need really high-speed Wi-Fi, and people use Skype and they use Zoom, and it's kind of empowering the user or the member of the space to build their business and be involved and come up with their own solutions. And so we saved him $10,000 just from that, right? So that's part of the physical space. The other phase of it, which we talked a little bit about, is and the critical point that if you take anything away from this and you're thinking about creating a co-working space or a community, it's building the culture. And it's not just about community. A community can be part of your culture, but it's about building a culture, because you cannot train a community manager or anyone else to play a role in your co-working space and expect people to come in as members and participate unless you have a design for that culture, right? And so that's it. Those, like I said, those two pieces sync up together really in our teachings and our consulting. But yeah, I mean, if people are looking to a physical space, you can do a lot of research online, and there's a lot of free material. But I can tell you that the people that call us have gotten to a certain point, and there's just, you can't get it for free at a certain, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can, and you can learn it, but I've, traveled the world for a long time and visited a lot of co-working spaces, and it's taken years. So if people are willing to do that, cool. All the power to you. But if not, then we have, guidance and resources to be able to walk people through that. The virtual piece that you're talking about is the really neat part, right?
Yes.
You have a virtual community, you have online listeners, people who are listening to this show, I'm sure, are also, involved in creating movements, right? Well, you can't create a movement without people, and especially without engaged people who believe in what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a difference between, somebody who is a leader and somebody who just has a lot of followers, right? Somebody who's a leader is making things happen, right? And so virtually, we have created ways to build these types of co-working models online. And so you really, now it takes structure and cultivation and all these other pieces. So it's a similar framework to what we do in a physical space. Now we've taken it to a virtual space, right? And it's more important than ever now to be able to engage those people, because there are so many social media platforms, so many different ways you have to connect, and it's very time consuming. So we actually have a platform that we use and that we've helped create that is branded. It's an app that's white labeled for your brand. You onboard members into that. We have a whole process for it. It's interactive. You can measure the interactions and the data. And there's different ways to even gamify that. So people get really engaged and you get a ton of value. If you're a coach, you can actually put training modules in there that people can access too. So really, really powerful stuff. But it's a lot of fun too, and it works. It's about understanding that, building up the culture, Does that answer I think it was a 2 or 3 part question.
That was a two-part question, and
Yeah.
I'm working on being much better on only asking one question at a time.
I'm the same way. It's like one thing leads to the next, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because as I'm growing and expanding, I'm expanding outside of these walls where I'm at, and having a place that I could go if I wanted to go to a physical place.
Yeah.
So important in order for me to expand and grow and have a culture and have community in an area that's near me. And if there isn't one near me, you help individuals set it up so I could actually create one if there isn't one. And that's what I like the most is it gives me the options to choose to be a leader or not be a leader, and set one up or not set one up. And then you also have the virtual aspect where I could create my own community, my own virtual community, my own virtual co-working space with a white label app. And I can utilize it, I'm assuming, through my phone, through my iPad, or maybe if somebody has a tablet, they could use a tablet, or etc.
Yeah, it's all web-based too, so that you can get. Actually, what we do is we include all the processing, so it's live on the App Store in Google and Android. It's live on the desktop. You've got all the versions are all included, and it's just great. And part of that, where that came from, which is neat, part of the story is collaboration, and it came through co-working. We actually run a virtual meetup for co-work managers and owners in 20 different countries. We have 70 members. It's a vetted community. They meet up virtually, like through Zoom, and it's kind of Brady Bunch tiles, and you get to see everybody. We make introductions. We pose what-if questions. So in a way, it's kind of like a mastermind group, but it's more about conversation than a presentation, so everyone gets to interact. And we use the app for that. And it's incredible to know that everything's contained within that environment. And like I said, it's almost, you can think of it like the physical space. We've designed it to be collaborative, and so that's where this whole thing spurs from. But the product and what we're offering it actually came from a collaboration that happened through that virtual group, right? So we connected with somebody. They said, you got to introduce you to these guys who launched this platform. Now we developed the whole thing together, right? And this is what comes from it. It's valuable to so many people, including people out there like yourself and your listeners who are operating from home and want that, you know. As humans, we strive for that social interaction, even if we're introverts. I mean, I actually happen to be an introvert. You know, I go speak on stage. That's a trained thing. But I need to recharge in my own space. At the same time, I like to be able to operate amongst other like-minded people, whether it's physical or even virtual like this. So it's really progressive type stuff, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And progressive type stuff is very important for individuals moving forward in their life and their business,
Mm,
and especially with the future that we're having upon us with the internet and being
yeah.
able to create your own books and self-publish. And
Yeah.
I mean, everything has opened up to individuals for their creativity. But most importantly, back to the subject here, what are the first steps that somebody might take to launch a successful co-working concept? How does that look, or what do they do?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the result that you want to achieve, right? I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's very different to launch a physical space than it is to launch a virtual one. And if your intention, like, you know, as a coach or an advisor or something, that sort of a role, you might want to sell a book or a training program or something like that. Well, in that case, a virtual community would be the way to go, right? Because a physical space just gives you way more overhead, way more upfront costs.
Mhm.
If you're looking and your end result is to have an investment in real estate, and you are an entrepreneur creating a movement, loves community, understands the culture and the power of that, then you could strive to open a physical space, right?
Mhm.
But really, it's just like building any business. You got to know what you want to get out of it, right? If you go in and I'll tell you, we've seen failures, right? We've seen a lot of co-working spaces go under, and the main reason that happens is just like the reason any business goes under: poor planning, no results driven. You know, they don't know how to take action, jumping into things too soon without the right guidance. You know, so there's a lot of different outcomes, and so I wish I had a better way to answer that. Like, okay, if you're going to step through these things, I would say if somebody had questions about this, and I know we'll talk about this in a minute, but we're offering free consultation that we can customize that based on what people need. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that would be probably step one that I would recommend is talk to us. Happy to have a conversation with people who are interested in this sort of topic, to be able to identify where you stand and what your real goals are. You know, because then we can sort of refine the direction that you want to take things.
Well, that sounds really exciting. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how individuals can get this free consultation from you in
Yeah.
order to determine if maybe the co-working concept is right for them,
Mhm.
whether it's physical or virtual?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if people want to go to our website, it's coworkingconsultants.com/services. And on that page, we've delineated between two categories of people. One would be people who run an organization. We actually work with municipalities and corporate entities to help define and refine cultures internally. So that becomes that whole philosophy of co-working idea. And we also work with innovative entrepreneurs who have an idea for either a physical co-working space or a virtual co-working space. And so on that page, that coworkingconsultants.com/services, there are two very clear paths and two orange buttons that lead you right to a calendar to schedule the time. So very easy, very straightforward. And hey, we talk to anybody. We absolutely love having open conversation and just hearing the stories that people have, and even what interests you in co-working, you know, can help give you some guidance and direction in that way.
Wow. Wow. So that's coworkingconsultants.com /services.
Correct. Yep.
Oh, that's really cool, Chris.
Yeah.
And for the individuals that are listening to the show, do you have any tips that they can utilize if they're looking at creating this co-working space, or if they're looking to be a part of a participant as a
Mm.
co-working space?
Yeah, absolutely. Two most powerful pieces to this. If you are looking to build a space, remember that it's the bonds between people that will make you successful, right? You have to be able to create a bonding environment. And both of these answers will come back to culture. Because if you don't create a culture that people can gravitate toward and that they can buy into, I use air quotes for that because it's not necessarily about there is a financial exchange. I mean, we're in business, right? And we want that means that you can be sustainable by generating revenue. But that buy-in comes from creating a solid culture, right? And an understanding that, hey, when I come here, I'll be heard, I resonate, I align. There are parts to what is off the community that's offered here that I can gravitate toward. And the other one is if you're looking for a space, same thing, but ask about the culture, right? What do you stand for? Every co-working space has the amenities, Wi-Fi, if they don't run for the hills, right? Wi-Fi, if you need parking, things like printers and, free coffee or whatever you're looking for. Most of them have all the same amenities. It's about asking the questions whether you align with their culture or not. Because if you say, what's the culture here? And they say, well, we have a free coffee maker and, we have Wi-Fi. It's like, unless that's what you're looking for in a culture, then you found out right away that they haven't actually created one yet, right? Or they just don't stand for anything other than opening the doors and letting people in. So that's what I tell everyone who's looking for a co-working space is ask questions about the culture. Even what are expectations? Do you have expectations? Is there a policy guide? Can I read through a mission statement? Or even ask them, what's your mission here? Because they say, well, it's about collaboration and community and culture. Well, okay, it's about that, but what is it about that, right? And every co-working space says they're a community, all of them, because your definition, Lucy, and my definition of culture might be very different, or community are very different. My definition of community might be, hey, I open doors and put you in a room, and because people are in there together, that's a community, right? So it's just about really asking the questions to understand if you align with the culture, or if you're creating one, define that culture. And that's also something, that's the first step that we take with anybody who's launching a co-working space virtually or physically is, all right, let's talk about why you're doing this and what your culture is going to be. And
Wow.
that's the key.
That's really a big key. And Chris, the time has flown by so
I
fast.
know. Talk about this all day.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful that you came on to the Wealthy Wednesday show. You let my audience know about this incredible opportunity of co-working, how to create collaboration, and where to get some help, which is through your company, which is at coworkingconsultants.com/services. And you've provided so many tips that individuals can look at when they're looking at joining or creating co-working spaces.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being such a bright light. I mean, I know we met fairly recently. I've just connected with you, and I appreciate, and I know all your listeners do as well, that what you bring as far as the value in having people like myself come on and talk about on the show. It's just I can feel the love, and I see that you have the love balloon in the back. So blessings, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So I want to thank my audience for joining me for yet another episode of the Wealthy Wednesday show. I'm so excited that we have already went well beyond our 3rd-year mark. And I want to thank those who have sent me emails, who have tagged me on social media, who have left me comments and specified what topics you wanted me to look up and who you wanted me to have on my show. So I want to thank the audience that did that. And I also want to thank you for giving the Wealthy Wednesday a shout out, letting your friends, letting your family know about the Wealthy Wednesday show, and making sure that you like and you subscribe to the button so that you will always get updates on the Wealthy Wednesday show. So until next week, abundant blessings. Are you aware that you actually have an inner roadmap to success? But you've got to be tapped into your mystical spiritual self to access that roadmap. Let me guess, you find it hard to do. Well, truth be told, it's not just you. Without access to this inner guidance system, you may be a bit lost, and you might even be beating yourself up. My mission to guide you into accessing your own GPS. I have opened limited spaces in my calendar to work with serious or mystical entrepreneurs who are ready to do what it takes to reach their dreams and fulfill their destiny. Are you ready to end the struggle? And you know you have to invest in your business in order to succeed, then let's talk. Go to chatwithlucy.com. Thank you for listening to the Wealthy Wednesday Show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle. I am the Mystic Wealth Creator, a mentor for conscious women entrepreneurs, helping them create more freedom in their business through conscious wealth creation. I would love to extend to you a free gift. And all you need to do is go to my website at lucymcmonagle.com. That's lucymcmonagle.com to get your free gift. So until next time, abundant blessings.